Hey guys, I'm building an objective device. I'll explain later. But you want to have a 14mm tube, and later on I'm going to cut a 12.5cm outlet bit, just big enough to fit a hand onto it. And then the components you're going to need is a button, which is a bistable two-way on and off, and I got that from Rapid. It's called a latching push switch or button. And then you want to have a buzzer, 6 volts mine is, a power link like a battery cable for a 9 volt or anything bigger than 6 volts so the buzzer works. And then you want to have a SPST switch or any old switch, and then your 9 volt battery. Also, for the ends, you're going to want an end cap, and you want 2 of these to fit both ends. You've got it so that it screws. You don't have to have screw-ons, you can have any old end cap, but that would glue into the tube, and then you just insert that and then lock. Also going to need solder and a soldering iron. I haven't got my soldering iron here. And then you want to have some wire, because one of the connections hasn't got one of the bits of wire which connects to the buzzer and so on. And then you also want some pliers. The way that the circuit works is that, as you can see there, you've got a battery with a positive which connects to the switch, then the other goes to the button, goes down to the buzzer, around and back to the battery. So when you turn on the switch, it supplies electricity to the button, and you click the switch, turns on buzzer, click it again, turns off, so on. It's a really simple circuit, and it's kind of weird to believe that this can be used for objectives in like Airsoft. Okay, so now I've cut off a 12.5cm tube and sanded it a bit on the edges, but you could probably do a bit better. So you've got the caps, they fit nicely on each end, but of course you want to stick those in with abrasive glue or maybe a glue gun. I'm going to try abrasive, so I'm going to try and do that now. I'll get back to you. Okay, so now I've glued on my abrasive glue, and now I'm gonna try and drill through these. So on the bottom one you want to have the switch, and you want to have the buzzer next to each other. Best way the buzzer, I'm thinking, is instead of cutting a hole in the bottom for this to fit through, I'm gonna drill a hole for the wires, slip it through and glue it onto the top. So, and then the other one is going to be for the button. I don't really know the measurements yet, but I'm thinking that the switch is about a 5mm, maybe 6mm, and I haven't really thought about the button yet. But normally a wire is 1mm, so I'm going to go with 2mm on the buzzer. Got the tube, and now I've got the button, so that's being screwed on and so on. This was 1cm, so that's 10mm, but I had to wiggle it around a bit because it didn't quite fit. If you've got different drill sizes, then fine. Then this, the hole for the buzzer turned out to be about 3mm, so it could be a 2.5. And then the switch, I did kind of make it wiggle around a bit because I wiggled it too much, but that's about, I think it's a 5mm, maybe 6mm. Try 6. And then now I'm going to try and do the circuit. Okay guys, so here's all of the electronic components plus wire. You might want to use some wire strippers to get the insulator off, which I had to use. Pliers, which I showed you earlier, and then you got the two ends plus the buzzer, power source, and an extra wire. So the extra wire is going to be the switch to the button, and then obviously you've got the leads of the battery connectors going to buzzer and switch, and then buzzer connectors going to button and to the battery. So yeah, already stripped these. You want a single wire, you don't want any double wires, because it gets too chunky and a bit messy. The buzzer should work, so if I connect the two wires, you can see it's working. So now I'm gonna solder all the connections, and then I'll show you it after. Okay guys, so I have now finished my tube. My tube still has a couple of hours to dry, so I won't be using it yet. But I have had to feed some of the wires through the tube. I've got all the connections, but the only thing I had to do differently was that I had to put an extension onto the buzzer lead. You can't really see it, but in there somewhere I have extended the buzzer's positive wire to there. You might not have to, but it was just for my preference, so I could get it without, if I wanted to get it out at some point. Also, 9-volt battery slips in there quite nicely, with the connector on there, and yeah, I'm going to put this all together and then I'll show you in a second. Okay guys, so this is the finished product. You've got a switch and a buzzer on the bottom. That's being glued on with just a blob of super glue. No, not super glue, glue gun glue. And then you got the hole with the wires just there. And then you got the big red button on the top. So to turn it on, switch on, and then so that's the bistable button working there. My idea for using this is airsoft training. Get a guy with a gun on a ridge, get this a couple of feet forwards from him in a ditch or something like that. This would be in a wooded area, not just a plain field, and then you have to run from one side to get to this, hit the button, buzzer comes on before you get shot by the guy on the ridge. That's my interpretation, but you could use this for all sorts of stuff. Like I might use this for cadets evenings and stuff like that. So it's quite a nice little device, and it's really simple, and it only costs a couple of quid. Yeah.